I'm Anthony Bachman from All Things Good and Nerdy, a geeky podcast part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other fantastic geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
This is Phillip Kennedy Johnson, and you're listening to Capes on the Couch.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello and welcome to Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
We are back for the fourth time with the phenomenal, incredibly talented, a man who at this point is identified by his initials, PKJ, Mr. Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Welcome back to the show, sir. Glad to have you.
Thanks, guys. Oh, man, always an honor. This is one of my favorite shows to be on.
Thank you. Thank you. That is, and you are one of the favorite creators that we have here, and I'm not blowing smoke. I am being legitimately sincere. So it's been a year and change since the last time we had you on. So first off, how are you? You have been so busy. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Yeah, it has been real busy, but I did just retire from the Army, so I'm back down to one job again, which is exciting. And
okay,
yeah, that's a relatively new thing. I just my last day was the end of August, and I'm just a writer now, so that's kind of cool.
So it is like fresh that you just got out. Wow.
Yeah, it just happened. Yeah. Well, I mean, when that happens, the out processing stuff takes a long time. So I haven't been like doing my regular day to day for a good bit.
Government paperwork takes a while. No.
I know, crazy.
Color
right?
me shocked.
Yeah, but anyway, that's finally done. So just trying to keep up with writing now, and trying to be a good dad, and trying to, not let my body fall apart, and all the other stuff.
Yeah, just all the incidentals. Yeah, you'll get around to that stuff. Yeah, that's fine.
How are you guys?
Less said about me personally, the better. My life is not going that great personally, but we're not here to talk about me. And
things are busy with a teenage child that also apparently has interest in what I do. So
hey, that's cool. Well, do you mean like here, or do you mean like your profession?
All of it. In terms of personality, in terms of work and everything. Yeah, lots of family stuff, basically.
She is a mini him.
Gives a about you and sounds like he respects you. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Great, dude.
Yeah, she's a fantastic niece and goddaughter. But yeah, she is Doc as a 13-year-old girl. That's
cool.
Just personality, everything.
Yeah, hopefully we get to meet sometime.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully when we do, that's a nice little segue. You can sign this door stopper that I've got here that I pre-ordered. For those of you that are listening only, I'm holding up the official Superman by Phillip Kennedy Johnson Omnibus Volume 1. I was very pleased to see that it was Volume 1.
Yeah.
This covers everything up through Warworld, the end of the Warworld saga. Fun story. This was the first chance that I got to read Warworld Apocalypse, I believe was the name of the special, the one shot.
Yeah, I think so.
Because my comic shop had Action Comics on the pull list for me, but did not pull the Apocalypse special. So I went from reading all this stuff, and then the next issue, it's like, and Superman has returned to Earth, and he's got the twins with him and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell happened?
Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's not your fault. And my comic shop, who I've been going to for like 15 years at this point, he apologized profusely. He was just like, oh, geez, I didn't even realize. He goes, yeah, I probably should have pulled that for you because it sold out on like first printing. And then he said something, he was going to order, a reprint, or second printing or whatever like that. And then it slipped his mind. So I ended up reading it like a long time ago, like when it happened. But then, so this is the first.
I'm glad you found it somewhere.
This is the first copy that I was able to and it was also nice to just go and read through the whole story.
Man, that's exactly the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. Like, so we had to kind of do it that way because of like just the math of when the next team had to come on and everything. Like they're trying to line up everything up with all the other stuff and other books. And sometimes the fact that it's a shared universe makes the shipping dates a little complicated. And they ended up having to kind of put the cap on the Warworld saga with like a double-sized special issue that was kind of its own thing. And I was worried about that exact thing. So I'm sorry that happened. Hopefully it didn't happen to too many people.
Hey, listen,
but I'm glad you have one now.
Yes, I got it. And I think I read the first couple issues like the day I got it. flipping through it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go back, do like a little bit. And then the next day, I think I went to bed 1:15 in the morning by the time I finished it, because I was literally just like, I know I'm so tired, but it's so good. It's so good. And then knowing that I didn't really get to Apocalypse the first time around, I was like, well, now I really need to see where this all goes. I'm like, I'm hooked into it. I need to see
everything in moderation, man. Everything in moderation,
including moderation. Sometimes you just got to go ham on it when you're reading a good book.
You just gotta shut up and rally.
I couldn't put it down. I literally could not put it down. So then after 1:00 in the morning, I thudded it down on the bed next to me. I was like, now I can go to sleep, and I'll probably have dreams of Mongol, but that's fine. So I strongly encourage anybody who read the story, please pick this up. When is Volume 2 coming out?
Probably 2027, but the individual issues, I mean, there's already several trades worth of stuff that's already out. And then, of course, Book of L is coming out monthly right now. And that is going to be, well, I mean, I've been telling people it's kind of the end of my second omnibus, but honestly, that's not entirely true. I mean, it will be, but there's also going to be tons and tons of back matter in that book. So at the end of the first omnibus, as you've seen, I'm sure there's you have a lot of Clark Kent's journals that didn't make it into the interiors of the comics. It was really cool to be able to put that in there, complete with like Warzone glossaries as he's trying to figure out the language and like the map that he and his allies made of Warworld, and the legend that goes with it, and creation myths, and all the script to page sequences and cover galleries, and just tons and tons and tons of stuff. So in this one, we're going to show big passages of the Book of L, which is an actual book that I'm writing as I'm writing the comic. Like, it's about Superman's legacy and the events of his house that come to pass after he's gone, lineages and histories and all kinds of shit. So the second book's going to be full of that stuff.
Oh, wow. I think I have my next big project in my life. This sounds amazing. I mean, I'll admit I'm fanboying, because I've always been a huge Superman fan, and I always wonder who the best people are to carry that load. And you definitely have always done an amazing job. But similar to the other things you've done outside of Superman and other DC things, the amount of work you put into psychological world building is impressive.
Thanks.
We've had a lot of guests on this show, and don't get me wrong, everybody has their strengths, but I can't imagine going from, all right, I'm going to deal with perhaps the most popular character in the world in terms of comics, to, let me just go ahead and create the entire legacy.
I mean, this stuff matters, right? Like, I don't know, like this book carries a weight of responsibility that not many books do. I will say, though, like that's how I always think about Superman, but I did feel like an awful lot of responsibility on the Jon Stewart book. Like that book mattered to me a great deal as well. And I'm trying to tell stories that matter, like, all the time. Like, whenever I'm writing, like, Hellhunters, that's a passion project of mine. That's like the Hulk has a lot of important things to say. But when you're writing Superman, it's like a philosophical statement about how best to be human, like, it's such a big deal. It's when you got to get right. And not everyone does. I mean, it's like, whenever I see a take that's not right, I'm like, nope, that's fan fiction. That's not how Superman would do this. And I've gotten kind of addicted to it. I don't know. It just means a lot to me. So the fact that I have an opportunity to do it again, I just don't want to waste a second,
Well, I think the work speaks for itself. And from like a meta standpoint, what is it like for you personally as Phillip Kennedy Johnson to hear or read some of the comments? I don't know to what extent you read online chatter about your work and reviews of things that you've done, but to read so many reviews that highlight your work on Superman and the Warworld saga, and to put it up there in that upper echelon of Superman stories, because the character's been around 80 plus years. It's been around a long time. There have been a lot of people that have written Superman. What is that like for you to put so much work into it for so long and to reap that reward? Like, just on a personal level as a writer, what is that like to be inside your head?
I mean, it's a huge honor, of course, and it means a lot to me to see those opinions. I also try not to take it for granted or let it, I don't know. I really appreciate it whenever I see that, but I also remember, like, I also have, there's also plenty of trolls that bring me down a peg whenever I get too full of myself. I just have to remind myself, well, while these very kind comments are being written, there's someone else lighting me up online for ruining their childhood on Hulk or whatever. There's always gonna be people who love you and hate you, and it's all okay. In the end, you kind of have to, I don't know. I hope that all the readers out there at least understand that I'm not phoning anything in, or that I'm taking it all very seriously.
I don't know who could possibly accuse you of phoning it in when, again, to your point, the omnibus is filled with the world building and all of these things that didn't make it into you don't phone that in. That's not like a slapdash AI slop.
To give you a little peek behind the curtain, so sometimes when I do get lit up online, I try to reach out to that person and be like, hey, give me some more, give me some specifics. Like, what are you unhappy with or whatever? And just invite them to, if they say stuff like, get off the book, we don't want you or whatever, it's like, I'm not going to give up that job. So it's like, it's not productive, but like, well, tell me why, like, tell me, let's talk about this. I just kind of want to hear their opinions, and to make them feel like I give a shit, because I do. Sometimes I'll do something that has a very specific plan. Well, I always have a plan for everything I'm writing in comics. Like it's all a series, right? You want to go to be a meaningful story that goes someplace that matters. And if they see a snapshot of that along the way, and they're like, oh, this run sucks, or this isn't what I want to hear that person, even if I have a really good reason not to do what they're asking. I just kind of want to have my finger on the pulse a little bit and like give them an opportunity to talk to me. And the phoning it in thing was something that somebody just said today, and they're wrong. I'm not, but they don't know that. To them, it feels like it, and I want to know why they feel that way. So when they respond, hopefully I'll have a good answer. Because I have tons and tons of mythology for that book too. Whenever that omnibus comes out, there's going to be at the end of every issue, at the end of every arc, really, like every 1, 2, or 3 issues, depending on the story, there's a remembrance of Eldest, where Eldest kind of gives a little tribute to, whichever monster Hulk has just killed or fought. And, we're fleshing out this family tree of monsters that tie into the origins of the Marvel Universe as told through old Silver Surfer Thor comics. So I'm trying to make it all feel like it belongs in that world.
Well, way to answer the question that I was going to ask you down the line, because we'll put a pin in that for now, because we are going to get to the Hulk stuff. But back to Superman, was this born of unused stuff from Warworld, or was this a conversation you had with DC? Because you've been off Action Comics for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, PKJ's coming back to Superman with the Book of L. And so was this a situation where you said, there's still more I want to talk about, or did they come to you? Like, how did that kind of come about?
It was always kind of assumed that I would do more. Well, I mean, I've been working on this for a long time. All the stories about Algren and the 7 god aspects of Algren were an intrinsic part of the Warworld saga. And I was always going to tell that story. So I just kind of found the vehicle that I wanted to use to do that. Like it wasn't going to be on Action Comics because they had other plans for that book, but they do like me on Superman. They've been very respectful, and they like me on that book. So, I mean, I've written Superman, I've written Action Comics. I had not yet written Adventures of Superman. So that was kind of a fun way to come around to that other storied title and use it to kind of cap off the whole thing. I gave them a pitch, but honestly, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like they were totally ready to do more. I knew I wanted to ask Scott to do it because he's the one who co-created the Future State characters with me, and he's said for a long time that that's like favorite work he ever did, and it's great. And he's like totally upped his game since then. Even like this is so good. Like the way that they're drawing these, the way that Scott is drawing his figure work in this book is the best work he's ever done on any book. It's stupid how good he is. I had the outline for the events of this book in place for years, like almost before I started the Warworld saga. So yeah, this was always going to be the story.
Again,
I've been pitching it to people as Action Comics meets Samurai Jack. That's kind of where the whole thing is going.
I think you just picked up a few more fans just by saying that.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, not that Doc wasn't already into this, but Superman meets Samurai Jack. It's like you tapped into his brain to see like what would make Doc just completely lose his mind. Superman meets Samurai Jack? Yes, please. Yeah. So, and again, who the hell could accuse you of phoning this in? Whatever.
No, look, I'm not mad about it. Like people, like you guys are super thoughtful fans who like really like do the deep dives, and some people are just kind of they're just reading pirated PDFs online. They just like the Hulk, and this is the only thing they've ever seen me do. And they have very strong opinions about a previous take, like they just love Peter David's run, or they love Immortal, or they love whatever. If I do some, okay, so for example, this is kind of the next chapter of Hulk. I mean, there was Donnie and Ryan's run after Immortal Hulk, but this mostly picks up the horror threads from Immortal Hulk that Al and Joe did.
Yeah,
and but does develop some of those ideas a little further, and it develops like I introduced a couple of additional elements to the lore that surprise some fans, and occasionally a troll gets pissy. But that's just part of it. It's totally fine. So I'm not offended whenever I see that stuff. I just want to talk to them when I can and be like, let's talk about this. Let me tell you what I'm doing. And I mean, without spoilers, just explain that there's a plan and you're getting these stories in little 20-page chunks, and it's all going to be okay.
Go outside and touch grass. Last question then on Book of El. Kryl-Ux.
Kryl-Ux is how I pronounce it.
Kryl-Ux? Okay. Mm-hmm. I found him to be such a compelling and interesting secondary character during the Warworld saga. And now he's taken a much more prominent role in the Book of El, and he's operating from a place of such unfathomable grief that's really kind of motivating him in this first issue. And again, this is following up on stuff that's in the Warworld saga, but it really takes the forefront here in Book of El. Where and how do you do the research into that kind of mindset where he's lost everything and he's really just kind of lashing out at going after Cal and for everything that happened on Warworld and such? How do you get into a headspace like that?
This is super up, but I feel like I'm on the brink of that mindset all the time. Just because my son and I are just best friends. Like I love that kid more than anything. And obviously it doesn't make me unique. I'm sure Doc feels the same about his girl. I've also done a lot of anti-human trafficking work in Baltimore. And I know a lot of people who have lost everything before I ever met them. And, I don't know, man. And I mean, most of them are dead now too. So just like the knowledge that, you can lose it all at any time, plus just the shootings and everything, like losing everything just seems uncomfortably near all the time.
I could definitely relate to that with the line of work that I'm in, and hearing the number of stories, and then the part that I think society in general tends to lose, and I may be wrong about this. This is not, and I may be getting to, you may have to cut part of this, Tony, but basically I think part of society has lost the idea, like, you don't have to go that far to understand. If you do have someone that you have that connection with, especially if it's a child, all you need is one story, and all you do is just insert your child into that story, and it's there, and it's almost instant in terms of the reaction. At least that's my take.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to probably, I imagine at some point we'll talk about Hellhunters on here. There was an issue of that came about because somebody introduced me to the father of one of the kids from the Uvalde shooting online. There was a dad who wanted obviously he's in horrible grief still, and he really wanted his boy in a comic book. And somebody sent me a link to his comments about that. And I reached out to him and we started talking about his son. The boy's name is Uzziah, and they call him Uzi for short. And he was at Uvalde and he died there. And apparently he was just the biggest Spider-Man fan ever. There's pictures of him like with his cousin, like with the Spider-Man mask on. There's pictures of Uzi like perched up on the kitchen countertop and there's like a Spider-Man t-shirt, and just an awesome kid. And he likes all the same shit that my kid likes. And he was Anders' exact age. Like by the time I found out about Uzi and his dad, like Anders had then become the same age as this kid was. I imagine like talking to the dad so often and seeing all these pictures of Uzi. So I put Uzi in the book. He's, of course, a book about, gun violence. His name's not Uzi in the book. We call him Leo because Uzi was a Leo. Like that was his sign, and he was very proud of it. So there's a kid in issues 6, 7, and 8 with had a Spider-Man shirt on all the time, named Leo, and he was based on Uzi. So like stuff like that. That's just it's happening all around us. Like it's not. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just in that mindset kind of all the time. If I lost my son, I'd never be happy again. And put myself and would I bend time and space and like do these crazy cosmic things to bring him back, and maybe do terrible things to bring him back? Yeah, I think I would. So yeah, the story of Book of El is not just about Superman saving the universe as he often does. It's about saving his friend Kryl-Ux as well, because Kryl-Ux is like Superman has lost his family, lost his home, lost everything, And while Superman honors his lost family with truth and justice by being the champion of the oppressed and being Superman, Kryl-Ux is inspired by Superman, but goes a very different way. And he would do anything to get them back. So it's about those two men and what Superman does to save his friend.
Incredibly well said. Yeah, I got 2 kids, and I don't know what I would do if I didn't have them. It's funny. You asked earlier, how I'm doing, and I said I don't want to get into it too much, but I'll say it here because I think it's kind of relevant. I'm currently going through a divorce, and we're splitting custody 50-50, and I'm going to be moving out very soon, and then it's going to be splitting time with my soon-to-be ex-wife once we get everything finalized. And just the idea that I will wake up in my house or apartment, wherever it is, and not have my kids with me one day, even though they'll be with their mom, but just to not have them in the same place with me for the first time outside of like vacations and stuff is a terrifying thought, and that's just a situation where, okay, I'm going to be without them for a couple of days and then they'll be with me. To think about never getting to see them again is, that would absolutely break me. And I understand stories like the monkey's paw and things of that nature, where to your point, you would bend heaven, hell, and earth and everything in between to get them back.
Yeah. Yeah. Now imagine you find out that there are these aspects of a God that are out there. And if you find them, you can shape creation in certain way, in limited ways. But then if you have them all, creation does what you say.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Infinity Stones, very similar, conceptually
sort of,
in that sense.
Yeah. In that sense, yes. Like at that point, you are the author of creation, and you can make the world look like you want. And like it's in the first issue, when Kryl-Ux is taking Superman's kids because one of them has an aspect of Olgren in him. He's like, I'm sorry, buddy, I don't expect you to understand, but when I remake the world, I'll make sure your family has a place in it. And that's kind of the justification he uses to do what he's doing. It's okay. Like when I'm just let me have the keys to the universe. And when it's done, I'll make sure you're okay. That's kind of what he's telling everyone. So yep. It's a lot, right? So anyway, it's
the well-intentioned extremist archetype,
yeah, Exactly.
So
exactly. We all know some of those.
So speaking of Hellhunters, I saw somewhere that you had said that this was the first time you really went to Marvel and said, like, this was a story that you needed to tell. I saw that in a quote somewhere. Was it specifically about Sal? What was it that compelled you to continue the tale? Because you created Sal in the Hulk. Was it Sal specifically, or was it something else that said, I need to tell the story?
It is the killing of Nazis.
Boom.
Yeah. Maybe that answer is frowned upon these days, but that's the truth. I just have a Nazi hang up. And I wanted to make a book that is Marvel's Inglorious Bastards. I mean, yeah, I did. I mean, just from a storytelling perspective, I really wanted to show Sal's origin. That was really fun, rewarding. I would like to make World War II kind of almost like another setting of the Marvel universe, the way that Atlantis or Hell or certain corners like the moon, like other places that you sometimes see, the Shi'ar Empire. I kind of want to see World War II like its own little place where you see lots of cool Marvel stories kind of intersect and weave within each other. So I wanted to see Sal's origins for sure, and how he intersected with all these other awesome heroes that are all like favorites of mine. Like I love Peggy, I love Nick Fury, I love Bucky for sure. And I kind of want to see Bucky as a kid again. So getting to see all those guys interact, just this badass team of people, a team like a blood up to their hips kind of team on which a person like Cap has no place. It was just a really fun idea that I really wanted to show. And this is kind of this mythological thing that I wanted to tell as well about the unhallowed, who are like demons, but created by man. And there's this whole other mythology that I thought we could kind of get into with that. But in the end, it's just about killing Nazis. And that's just makes it really fun and rewarding for me. It's my therapy book.
There you go.
We're in the business of killing Nazis, and business is booming.
Booming.
Exactly.
But we need to listen to them, right? We need to give them their space. We can't free speech. So it's all about free speech.
It's fascinating. We go on a long hiatus, and I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about this sort of thing. I'm like, we're gonna get canceled so quick, and I'm here for it. I am
get canceled
definitely down
for saying that we should punch Nazis in the face, if not kill them. Oh, hey. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Yeah. Nazis gonna die.
Yeah.
And
it's a fun book.
Yeah. It's a fun little Nazi killing book.
Yeah. There's more Hellhunters coming.
Sweet.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
I'm very proud of it.
Love it.
What do you guys think of it? Tell me your thoughts. I really respect you guys' opinions. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this book.
Well, you confirmed what I thought, which was literally like, okay, this is a catharsis. This is a catharsis run. This is just like, let's just see a bunch of bad things happen to bad entities. That's the way I looked at it. I'm not saying I shut my brain completely off, but I was like, no, this is just fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what it was. You know, you said Marvel's Inglourious Bastards, like, yeah, and to your point, there's so many stories that you can tell in World War II and have been, you know, with the invaders, you know, you could tell that story, okay, you know, with Cap and Namor and Bucky and, you know, Jim Hammond, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes you can't beat fascists any other way than with bullets. And especially if the fascists are undead or not exactly human, well, then all bets are off at that point. And I have no compunctions whatsoever about destroying them and whatever hell spawn created them. So, yeah, it was cool.
Nazis are not nature's perfect villain. I mean, better than killer robots or zombies or anything. They're just perfect. And yeah, makes for a good story. It's one of the many keys to Indiana Jones' success. Yeah, I mean, nobody feels bad for a Nazi. So anyway, it's just really fun. And there are also elements of the Marvel Universe from back then that I kind of wanted to lay out my opinion on. Like the idea that Cap's not in this book very much yet, but the idea that Cap, like people compare Cap to Superman kind of a lot, and that's just not accurate. I mean, Cap is not the pinnacle of human virtue the way that Superman kind of is, at least these days. Cap was like the perfect soldier, and he's killed shitloads of people. And not even the perfect soldier of today, but perfect soldier from like a time long past that would not necessarily make him the perfect soldier today in a lot of ways. But I mean, I still love Cap. And I have a very specific voice for Cap that I really love writing. But anyway, I just wanted to show that, yeah, the heroes, the Marvel heroes of World War II were killers. I wanted to show Peggy and her element as part of the French resistance, like American as part of the French resistance. And I wanted to show Sal the way I conceived him. And it's kind of fun to show Nick Fury back in the day of two eyes and before he made it big. But I really wanted to show Bucky, the whole dilemma of Bucky Barnes, where initially he was like the Robin to Cap's Batman, where he's just a teenager, but he's also killing tons of people. And I wanted to show a character that's going through a lot of the emotions and like brain development that a teenager would go through, but while in this environment of unthinkable stress and violence. Like, what does that do to somebody? So that we see him kind of sitting in the woods, sulking, kind of sniffling because Dum Dum just took his Nazi ear trophies and like kind of sulking like a kid would, like, man, my mom sucks. But the thing that he's sulking about is his chain of ears. And then later when he's getting kind of nervous and somebody tells him to sing, and then we find out he doesn't know any music. Like the only songs that he knows are like the Jody calls that the army guys make him run to. And so he starts like giggling and singing a Jody call as he's like mowing down soldiers. Oh man, it's so fun. And but also like kind of holds your face to it, makes you look like this is what these stories were really about. You know, yeah. This is a kid, not just like punching bad guys with big round bags of money in Gotham City streets. Like he's in war. Yeah. And I wanted to show that, well, not make it any less fun, but also like, let's pay attention to what we're really talking about here. This is still war. So I don't know. I really enjoyed writing Bucky in a dark, kind of sinister way. Yeah, that was definitely something that got added to the mythos around Winter Soldier time and leading up to that, because, you know, Bucky had been dead for, you know, decades in continuity. It wasn't until, you know, much, much later that the thought process of we've got a teen running around with Cap in war, that psychological aspect of it really wasn't discussed back when these issues were being written in the 40s. They didn't really get into that until much, much later. And then it was like, oh yeah, then it wasn't a full retcon, but it was like, oh, Bucky is actually this trained assassin that is going out to do all these missions that Cap, you know, is too pious, for lack of a better term, to undertake. But then to your point, what does that do to the psyche of somebody whose prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed and isn't going to develop for another 10 years with all of this added trauma on top of it? Yeah. And this is, you know, this is what we discuss on the show. It was really important that Bucky be a kid for this story. And somebody did kind of get pissed online, like, no, the Brubaker book said that he was actually an adult when all that was happening. And I kind of shot back with like, yeah, but that was what, I mean, all the stories leading up to that moment, he was a child.
Uh-huh.
And Brubaker changed it because he needed a particular element for the story that he was telling. And I needed it the other way for the story that I was telling. So we never expressly say that he's 14 or 15. It's just that's how the art kind of portrayed it. And that's how I wanted it. There was actually one really fun scene that we had to take out. So Marvel has this pretty firm rule about tobacco where you're not allowed to smoke in a Marvel comic, like pretty much ever. I was told it was like just a blanket rule, like no smoking, no matter what. I was recently at a Marvel summit, and then one of the high ups said, well, if there's like a negative connotation, we can kind of get away with it. But it's basically, I don't think I've ever seen it since they made that rule. I think Joe Quesada made that rule or something. It was well before my time. They said no more smoking in comics. And that is, we haven't seen Wolverine with stogies ever since then, or not even in war books. So in issue 3, where he introduced Bucky, there was a moment, let's see, Nick, Peggy, and Zardos, I guess, had just come out of a meeting with Colonel Phillips where they were like, we need Cap for this. And he's like, that you're not getting Cap. Meanwhile, Logan and Sal are just kind of sitting around waiting. They're like the grunts of the team. And they're just like kind of waiting for everyone else to get out of there. And in that time, they have bumped into Bucky, and Sal is excited. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I thought that was just like a gag for the newsreels. You're actually a real kid. And they come back, and he's like, we got to take this guy with us. And Bucky really wants to go. And they're like, no, we're not taking you. So they kind of argue back and forth. Zardos is like, no way are we taking this kid. And Bucky's like, I killed more people than you, blah, blah, blah. At some point, he's like, come on, Nick. Let me bum a cigarette too. And like Logan kind of chuckles, and Nick kind of sighs and pulls a cigarette out of his pocket and says, don't tell Cap. And he gives him a cigarette as kind of way of saying like, yeah, fine, come along. Yeah, well, I'll take you. But they saw that scene. They were like, nope, no cigarettes. I'm like, come on, man. It'd be so cool.
That's the thing. It's not even like he has to smoke it. I can appreciate that.
I know, but they didn't let me do it. I thought since he wasn't smoking it would be okay.
Yeah.
But in the end, they took it out.
Now, see, if you hadn't get it from a camel with sunglasses, then it would have been okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, cartoon characters are okay.
Oh, man.
At one point, the cover was also like, there was that cover with Bucky, like with like a 50 cal on the front, and like there's a field of dead Nazis, and he's blowing bubble gum. Originally, that was a cigarette.
Amazing.
I actually kind of prefer the bubble gum. Actually, it kind of just reminds you it's a child.
Yeah.
And it actually ends up working better. But I was really sad to lose that scene in the book, though.
That is amazing to me, especially with what you just said. So, yeah, as long as you show death and destruction and violence with weapons, that's fine. Cigarettes is where you draw the line.
Exactly. No boobs, no cigarettes.
It's giving shades of Sheila Broflovsky in South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. The violence is okay, but no naughty words.
Yeah,
exactly.
We've talked quite a bit about, you mentioned earlier a lot about the work on Hulk, and kind of segues again because Sal was created in the Incredible Hulk, and I think last time we spoke to you were about a year in, and so now we're up to, I think 29 comes out tomorrow, and so we're in the process of leading up to Infernal Hulk, which is the next evolution of the storyline. So I have a couple questions related to Hulk. The first question is, and you were kind of touching on it earlier when you were talking about eldest and mother and stuff. How do you coordinate on all the deities with Marvel to keep consistency both internally and externally? Because again, world building being what it is, especially for you, that I know you've done the research on this to say, if I'm referencing this character, that was part of these creation sagas, and you're talking about the mother, the one below all, and everything, and talking about all of these various gods involved in all these creation aspects. How do you keep it all straight?
There's not really all that many. It's not as hard as you might think. There are some key issues of old Silver Surfer and Thor stuff that are very kind of formative. Like it just kind of forms the basis. The ones that were really important are the gods and demigods and old great ones and all that kind of came about with the creation of the earth. You're not really going to see a lot of cosmic stuff. I mean, there are a couple little exceptions for reasons that'll make sense when we get to it, but for the most part, this is all just earth mythology. And if you go back and look, there was it talked about the demiurge and the great old ones like Set and Gaia and Oshtur and all those guys, Chthon. And at some point, they all kind of became not all of them, most of them kind of went monstrous and turned into these other awful, deviant things. And at some point, the demiurge and Gaia created the demigorge and became this thing that blah, blah, blah ends up kind of calling the great old, like the monsters that the great old ones had become. And the idea is that, well, I should shut up. I almost gave a big spoiler there, but it's the mythology that we're building now is all kind of based on that. I thought one thing that never really got answered in those old books was, okay, the great old ones went from being, peace-loving things, all living in the green and the oceans and everything seemed fine, and suddenly they turned into monsters. Why? And the mythology here just kind of builds on that and kind of answers that question of why. What if there was an element of creation that was not created by anyone? The one above all supposedly created the universe. What if there was a little cancerous seed in there that sprang from its own will and not because anyone else bid them to appear? And that's kind of where the idea for the Mother of Horrors came from. So it's all very, very rooted in the creation of Earth and not so much like the everything, but just like Earth. So in that way, it all kind of makes sense. Now it does put the Mother of Horrors in a very prominent place because in theory, anything deviant or profane or in any way outside the natural order came from her. So like in a way, depending on your perspective, all mythical pantheons come from her. So even if like the Mother of Horrors and Mephisto were to meet up, Mephisto is like the great grandson or something of this other thing that just offset the course of divine evolution on Earth.
Wow. The very essence of deviant existence. That's
And
wow.
It's not even that she's like more like there's, again, like I try to keep my finger on the pulse of the fandom, and somebody got all pissed that I would suggest that there could be another creature more powerful than the one above all. And that's not really what I said. If you look at issue 28 that came out last time, it talks about like she pierced the flesh of the one above all, and a green flame erupted. Like it's like his rage from being pierced. It's not that she's stronger, it's that she is made of a completely separate thing. It's like, oil and water. There's not, she's not made of the same stuff as the rest of creation. And in that way, it makes the one above all vulnerable. It doesn't make her stronger. She's just made of something different.
Oh,
and
right.
That's the thing that creates all profanity on Earth.
Yeah, that's a great point. You mentioned part of number 28. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump in. This is something that Tony doesn't expect. So when we were prepping for this, he mentioned number 27. I will not lie to you. I hadn't read everything Hulk related, and there's Tony holding up the book. I had not read everything, but work was a little lighter than usual today. And I did some searching, and one way or another, I'm like, for him to call it out, I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I'll let Tony take it from there, but because usually he doesn't say like specific issues. I'm like, what is it about this? And I'm like, oh, now I get it. So go ahead, Tony.
So I read issue number 27 of The Incredible Hulk. And I say, how dare you, Phillip Kennedy Johnson? How dare you make me cry and feel feelings reading a Hulk book? I don't read the Hulk to feel sadness. I read the Hulk book because I want to see body horror. I want to see big things punching Hulk and Hulk stronger than that. I don't read the Hulk to feel emotions. And here you are going and making me cry reading this book. God damn you, PKJ. How dare you? Who do you think you are?
Tony, clearly, forget the comic. Clearly, you never watched the original TV show, the Lou Ferrigno version and all that. Are you kidding me?
I know what I'm saying. Tongue planted firmly in cheek, sir. My point is being that, you've got all this stuff with Charlie and, the Mother of Horrors, and he's trying to get Charlie back, and she, is wearing the skin and all this stuff. And then just this little story. Like, by the way, we're going to tell this lovely little one-shot story of the Hulk and this little boy, and it's not going to go where you think it is. And by the end of it, you're going to be sobbing over it. Just going, why am I feeling these things? So that's why I say
this was the issue.
Damn you, sir.
This is the one where I wanted, Charlie's just left, so Hulk's on his own again. So this was kind of the moment where I wanted people to feel stuff. He's found the solitude that he thought he wanted. And it's actually a sad moment. Plus, it's about to ramp up to this crazy change in status quo. So this was the moment for this kind of a thing.
No, I know it was a breather in the midst of all the insanity and stuff. And again, obviously, I'm not legitimately upset, but I'm reading the story. And I just read it again today just to prep for the interview. And I'm going, man,
thanks.
Little Petey.
Poor Petey. It's based on people I knew in real life.
That's what makes it so impactful is, aside from the Hulk stuff, you could absolutely see this happen outside of everything going on with the Hulk and confronting the dad at the end. Again, I'm not trying to spoil too much, but everything that happens with Petey is very real. And that's why it hurts as much as it does.
Yeah,
So,
I grew up in a place like that, and I know people just like that. Like in high school and early college, well, the summers of early college, I worked construction for my stepdad, who was a contractor. And at some point, there was this dude who rolled into town in a flat gray painted bus that he and his wife and baby lived in. He didn't have anything. He didn't have any money. Like at first, my stepdad had to pay him like day to day. And then eventually when he got a little bit of cash, he was able to pay him like weekly and then eventually bi-weekly. But I worked with this dude. And I mean, I was just a kid. I was doing unskilled stuff like sweeping out houses and carrying lumber and shoveling gravel and just like the shit that nobody else, the guy was like a carpenter, I think. Yeah, I worked with him and, things went bad. And I will never forget that bus. And there was one night where now this is not a spoiler for the book for anyone who has not read issue 27, but in real life, I got the clear impression that he was abusive, and he got real angry. And at some point, his wife and baby went to stay with her. Her mom lives somewhere in the area, and she left the bus, went and stayed with her at some point. And while she was gone, the guy got blind drunk and burned to death in that bus. And I came out to the job site the next day, and cops were around, and that bus was just a shell of ash, like burned down to the wheels. But yeah, he was in it. So I don't know. I'll never forget that bus and how unusual it was that they lived in it, but also everything that happened. It's just, seared into my memory. So it was also just for the big picture of the Hulk story that we're telling too. It's really important for readers to know that monsters can be mortal men too. Like this whole arc, this whole story that I'm writing is called The Age of Monsters. And it's like a story about what it means to be a monster. Like, what does that mean? Is Hulk himself a monster? These things he's fighting, do they have to look? Do they have to be ugly? Do they have to be huge? Do they have to be strong? Can they just be corrupted in some other way? Can the corruptive seed that the mother of horrors is, can that be planted in you through abuse or suffering or some kind of addiction or obscene wealth? Can those things also be corruptive forces that corrupt in the same way that physiology can be corrupted? Can a person be corrupted in other places, in other ways? So Henry Lang from this issue is one of those monsters too. He gets a remembrance at the end of that issue too, to make that clear.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It is absolutely, everything you are saying is 1,000% true. And unfortunately we see it every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
don't know too many people who would argue that Epstein wasn't a monster.
Yeah.
A very congenial, well-to-do, conventionally attractive-looking guy. Absolute monster.
Yeah.
By his actions.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, like that's something that's, I have stories that really mean a lot to me that I have to tell that are like, there are Hulk stories about stuff like that, about like stuff like Epstein. But that's also kind of the motivation for some of my Superman stories. Like the idea, I refute the idea that is the only reason that we are not monsters because we don't have $10 billion or whatever. If we had enough money to like alter the course of human history, would we use it to do horrible shit? I have to believe that we wouldn't. Like I refuse to believe that the only thing preventing me from being Epstein is relative poverty. So I have to believe that it's possible to have absolute power or even desire absolute power and use it for virtue instead of monstrous things.
Well, that's the very discussion that Erskine had with Steve Rogers in the first Avenger movie, the first Captain America movie, the super soldier serum doesn't make you, it just enhances who you are. Good becomes better, evil becomes worse. At the end of it, he said, you were chosen not because you were the strongest, but because you're a good man. And the serum is going to make you a better version of that. So that's literally the exact point, that was made. And that's one of the things that you can draw upon in a number of Superman stories is this idea that, that's what pisses off Lex Luthor about Superman is, this, he's, you only worship him because, he can do all these things. If you could do all these things, what would you do with it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's All-Star Superman, right? At the end, you could have saved the world anytime, Lex. You just didn't. You just chose not to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the core of it. So Infernal Hulk, how far in advance do you have things mapped out? Without, I don't need spoilers. I don't need specifics. But given your prolific world building.
There's a fixed number of issues remaining. And there's not really room for wiggle room now. Like I know all the way to the end of the run.
The end of the run for Incredible Hulk, or I'm talking like once Infernal takes over, how far, or is that what you're saying?
The end of my story. Like all my,
Okay.
I have the rest of my Hulk run all mapped out. Like I know where it's going and how it's going to end.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, man.
Okay,
I'm really excited.
I ordered the Superman Omni. I will get Superman Volume 2, and you'd be damn sure I will be getting the Hulk Omni when that comes out. However many volumes that requires.
Yep. It's going to be really cool. Yep. I will say, like the Incredible Hulk up to this point has basically been Act 1, but that does not mean that there's going to be, like in screenwriter terms, that would mean there's the first 25%. It's not that long. I'll tell you that roughly half of it has been told. But I shouldn't get into more specifics than that. But it's gonna be cool. Right. Act 2 and 3 are definitely shorter than Act 1 was, but it's gonna be exciting. I'm really excited. The first act kind of just put all the pieces on the board. There were some cameos by familiar Marvel characters, and also a lot of introductions of new monsters and new characters. Those are all there for a reason. And now, starting in Act 2, we're gonna start seeing a lot more interaction with the rest of the Marvel universe. And then the third act is practically like just a Marvel thing, not just even Hulk anymore. I mean, it's extremely Hulk-centric, but from here on out, it gets much more interactive with the rest of the Marvel U.
So one of the things I wrote down before coming on was chessboard, because that's what I feel like is happening right now. Just everything just being laid out, and at some point, it's like, all right, who's making the next move? That's...
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I'm a chess player from way back, and I do kind of envision it that way. The first act is like early game, like the opening moves where you're just trying to develop all your pieces. And now I've got everything out. Now it's like, okay, what do I do with them? What do the other person do? Like, what do I do now? So that is kind of where we're at.
You're at mid game now.
I'm in mid game, exactly.
All right. Well, I know we're pretty much running out of time, so unfortunately, we did not get a chance to get into the Batman and Robin stuff.
No, let's do it. I can make time for that if you guys can.
Sweet. All right, let's do it.
All right, then let's go then. Loving the story.
Thank you.
Memento, first off. Memento Mori. Where did the name come from? Christopher Nolan fan? Or
No, well, I mean, I am, but it's not where it came from. It just kind of fit the concept I had for the character. So I knew what kind of, this was kind of my, in case the bus with my name on it gets me, I want to get my Batman story out there that I really wanted to tell. And this is kind of it. I envision Gotham in a very specific kind of way. I want to see Gotham as like dark and rainy and like with the blimps overhead and just, I don't know. It's like a proper detective noir story, with an actual mystery. And the fact that there's a Batman and a Robin story specifically, I wanted to see Bruce and Damian at similar ages, both working on the same crimes, like trying to solve the same mystery together, across the generations, and doing it with the same allies. Which that was kind of cool. I wanted to see Atticus Bligh and Catherine Lautrec in both periods. And I wanted a bad guy that almost like a cross between Aleister Crowley and Jack the Ripper and Professor Moriarty. Just like a really cool, dark, like scary kind of a villain, like a legit serial killer. But we're not quite sure if it's supernatural or not. Like whether it's just a guy in a mask or if there's something like eternal in there.
I definitely was getting Moriarty vibes.
Oh, yeah.
From the story.
Yeah, good.
For sure. As a Sherlock guy, like, oh man, I thought of like just this calculated, ruthless. That's the best word I could think of. Ruthless.
Yeah, thanks. I want him to seem like really old and just timeless, and like have that some kind of a cool, like some of my favorite Sherlock Holmes. Like I've read all of those stories, like literally all of them.
Scoreboard, so have I.
Yeah, good. Some of my favorites have some kind of a creepy little element to it, like the sign of 4, the little mark that you find places, or the riddle of the dancing men, or like the little newspaper cutout messages and stuff like those things. I don't know, there's some kind of elegant, creepy element to those things that I just love. And so having him speak in verse kind of made sense to me, partly for the Sherlock Holmes nod, but also, I mean, it fit the Sherlock Holmes kind of aesthetic, but I also knew that I wanted to have that interrogation of Etrigan the Demon in there too. And like the rhyme was kind of like a little hint that this thing might actually be a demon. I also I brought the Gotham City regulars for that same reason, to make it feel like Sherlock Holmes and kind of give another little nod. So yeah, Memento was kind of the nucleus to the whole aesthetic that I wanted to do for this story.
Now, the one thing, because I was reading back, I started with issue 14 again and to prep for this. And the one thing that I found interesting was very early on, Bruce refuses to accept that Memento could be back. He's like, nope, he's dead. It's got to be a copycat. It just seems like arbitrary skepticism given everything else that goes on in the world. I mean, he's literally dealt with Raish and Lazarus Pits and so like all these things, but he's like, no, it's got to be a copycat. There's no way it's him. He's dead. There's no way he could possibly come back. And I was just like, what?
There's a couple of reasons for that. So one, it's because Bruce himself does not want to accept that he's back.
I mean, I got that part of it, but it was just really?
And because they had closed the book on the fact that it was his old teacher and he died in prison, like for sure, or died in the sanitarium. So there's that. But also, later we show that he says out loud later in the story, like, I acknowledge the existence of supernatural shit. But if you turn to supernatural solutions while there's any other choice, it almost always leads you astray.
Right. And that literally is the whole Sherlock Holmes thing. The idea is it's a Poirot thing from Agatha Christie, but same premise. Like, you don't go to the most improbable thing until you have eliminated all the most probable causes and sources.
Exactly. What's the Sherlock Holmes line? It says, when you've eliminated all other possibilities, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
Exactly.
So that's kind of his way. He's eliminating all other possibilities before, even at the very end, he does not completely acknowledge it. Like, well, in theory, it says because of the existence of the Gravedigger's Poppy, like in theory, we could have imagined all this shit, but could also be a demon, and it seems likely. He even acknowledges, like, yeah, it probably was. But either way, we're done.
Yeah. No, like I said, it was just reading back, and I did eventually get to that point, but it was just in the beginning that, yes, he was just like, no, there's no way. And I knew, from a Watsonian analysis, if you go the whole, like Watsonian versus Doyle'sian view of, how the characters interact and stuff, the Watsonian analysis and interpretation would be that he's locked away. He's like, no, he refuses to acknowledge that. It was just interesting to read that and be like, Bruce, you're on a team with literal gods, but you're like, no, the superhuman shit can't possibly be happening.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So one tricky thing about comics is that you have to see the books as if it's the only comic series. Like, eventually it's going to exist on the shelf as a trade. And when people read it, 9 months after it comes out, it will only ever be read in trade, basically. And I want to assume that this is this is just purely a Batman story. Now, you also have to play nice with all the other books on the shelf and kind of acknowledge continuity. And like, well, when's this happening? Like, Batman can't be in space right now because he's also on Gotham and he's also in Atlantis or whatever. You have to kind of pay attention to what's happening when and figure out when in the timeline stuff happens. I don't want to acknowledge in this particular story, I don't want to be giving nods to Justice League Dark or Justice League or World's Finest or anything else. I basically write to the trade because that's how it's always going to exist after it's off of the floppy shelves. And to me, Batman is still, yes, he's, shot Darkseid with cosmic guns and all that stuff. But in this kind of story, he is a detective on the streets of Gotham, and that is his truest form, in my opinion. So I want him to talk like a detective and to see the world as a detective does and not turn to supernatural solutions until there's no other choice.
That absolutely works. And I don't disagree. And I do really enjoy stories that do remind you that Batman is the world's greatest detective and play on that aspect of him.
That was important to me too. Because everyone knows that Batman's the world's greatest detective in the comics. They only know that because people are saying it all the time. I wanted to see him actually do it. I want to see him prove it. And so the detective element of the story was really important to me. But I also wanted him, the fervor with which he shuts the door and the possibility that this guy is back is also meant to kind of express how uncomfortable he is with that idea. He just doesn't want to see this guy again.
Yeah. And then, because I had a couple other questions, and you did kind of reference, I wanted to know, how much research went into creating this kind of part of Batman's past so that it worked in the present, but you kind of touched on that. So the other thing I really want to get into is, and a part of the story that I enjoyed is, not enjoyed, maybe the wrong term, Damien's trauma over Emma's injury.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I said I don't really want to, I'm not saying that I enjoyed it, but I was intrigued by it because I appreciate the reminder that he's still a child. We were talking earlier about Bucky and everything that he had gone through. Damien, very similarly, he's gone through horrible stuff because Talia ain't winning no Mom of the Year awards for everything that she did. And it's nice to see this reminder that he's still very much, because he starts off, he's like, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, I don't even want to be here with people like you and whatever. And then she gets hurt and he's like, oh, it's like she was really nice to me and she was, an innocent person. She didn't deserve this. And he kind of takes some blame. And it's just the way that the trauma over that informs his actions throughout the remainder of the story and wanting to learn more about Thomas and volunteering at the hospital and doing all these things that he does to assuage his internal guilt. Kind of just walk us through that process a little bit and how much work you put in the work clearly, but what kind of went into that part of the story and dealing with Damien's character.
Yeah. When I was figuring out what kind of journey to take Damien on, like emotionally, like as far as his character arc, the obvious answer would have been the Al Ghul stuff because it's such a compelling part of his character, but that's also been done a lot and recently and often. So I kind of felt like that was off the table. And I thought that I just remembered that one element of his character that I have not seen very much is him exploring his legacy as a Wayne as well. He has other grandparents and he doesn't really think about them. He didn't come to Gotham because he is Damian Wayne, because Bruce Wayne is his dad. He came to Gotham because Batman is his father, because he sees himself as the heir to Batman. And he's trying to leave that legacy of the Al Ghuls behind. And he still got that kind of arrogance to him. And he really revels in action and fighting and like showing what he can do physically and what an amazing fighter he is, and how smart and capable he is. It's all kind of he's just like self-glorification kind of. He doesn't like have a mission or a purpose the way that Bruce did. Bruce Wayne, as soon as his parents died and he set out to do his thing, he had his purpose. He was like all purpose. And then he went around the world to gather the tools. And Damien had nothing but tools with no purpose. And I wanted to see him explore his legacy as a Wayne and to actually see another side of himself. I also kind of wanted to see him fail and actually be like, I spend my life training like crazy and doing all these amazing things, and it's still not enough. Sometimes we screw up, people get hurt. Sometimes it's our fault. And the people all around me in this hospital get together, can help this girl, and I can't. Like, these normies are awesome, and I'm not awesome. And I want him to see what that's like, because he clearly has always perceived himself as being superior to others. And in other settings, maybe he is. But in this moment where this girl is hurt, the people that sat around him at the table are super capable and he is helpless. And I wanted to see him deal with something like that, like to get a little much needed humility and send him on a new journey that we haven't seen.
That's beautiful.
So I wanted to see him, figure that out. So it just kind of made sense to me. I just wanted to see him explore his legacy as like the legacy of the other grandfather.
And Bruce calls it out. He said, I want to talk to you about your grandfather. And he's like, I know all about race. And he's like, your other grandfather.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, right. Read these journals, read about Thomas.
He has no patience for being in that place, in that party, in this building. It's like, this is stupid. We could be on patrol right now. Like our Batman and Robin should be on patrol. This is stupid and a waste of time. All these people around me are just ants. And he's really rude to the girl. And at some point he realizes he's hurt his feelings and he feels bad about it kind of, but he's not enough to apologize, but kind of doesn't like it. And then she gets hurt. And he's like, oh my God. So I just wanted to give him, I don't know. Plus I've also kind of been thinking about the whole concept of a Harvey night, like where all the Robins have their moment where they like question if they really want to do this, like some kind of a moment where they're like, man, this is hard. Like some kind of a traumatic moment where they just get something they can't get out of their head. Like, I think I'm going to quit. I don't think I can do this. and then they kind of have to fight through it. I wanted to see Damien's Harvey Knight, so called because Dick Grayson's it's kind of always alluded to that there was some kind of a traumatic thing that happened with Dick Grayson's Robin and Two-Face. So his Harvey Knight was with Harvey Dent, and then everyone else kind of has one later. And this is seeing this girl bleed out because he was too slow. That's Damien's Harvey moment. So anyway. Yeah, I just wanted to see that thing that haunts him, and then through that, even in his costume, even in Damien's costume, the gray and red one, it doesn't really look like he's all the way bought in as Robin. He's just kind of like keeping the seat warm, waiting to become Batman himself.
Yeah, that is, that's well said. That I think is the biggest thing. You said it earlier, the heir to the throne. And it's fascinating because over the years, I think people have acknowledged that if you give a name, whether you say Bruce Wayne or Batman, people mention the cape and cowl as his true form because he had to make that decision after his parents die. Meanwhile, Damien doesn't know any other way, and so he wouldn't even have the emotional wherewithal to say, even though Bruce himself admits when it comes to interacting with people as Bruce Wayne, that's not the way he would like to do it. He recognizes the necessity. He knows that it's vital. It's critical to everything that he's doing because he never wants to lose that piece of himself. It may not be the forefront, but it's still absolutely necessary. And Damien, up until this point, didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't know, it just made sense. Like, I didn't really, once I started the story, like the ideas kind of started to percolate and come together, I almost couldn't imagine doing it any other way. It just kind of seemed like the obvious next step for Damien's character, to have him like truly question whether he's going to do this. And then at the end of the arc, when he's bought in, he's finally like all in as Robin, like, yeah, I'm going to be Robin, not just Batman Jr., but Robin. And then you see him in like the old traditional colors and like, now I'm really the thing. I feel like that was a necessary step in his development as a character. And also, one element of his past arcs that I really liked and admired was that he makes comics himself. I thought that was really, really fun. And I wanted to see some of those comics myself. I wanted that to be like a part of the canon book. We've seen a little bit of that before, but I want to kind of make a proper, like a really cool style that's just his forever. Also, so here's another example of me putting my own life into this thing. I come from the world of music professionally, and when I came to comics, it was just really freeing and exciting. And I was learning this whole new art form that I never had any experience with. I'm like, look at me, I'm the master of my own fate, and I'm doing this thing that's like no one would have ever guessed I'm doing it. It just felt really exciting and new and unexpected, And at some point, my mom found my grandfather's old journals, and I opened them up, and there's pictures all through them. Like they're almost comics. And my grandfather was himself a trumpet player, as I am. Not a professional, but he went to college for it though, and he ended up going, like, there was some kind of a thing that happened back home. He had to go back home and work the farm, and he became a farmer. But he still played like in church, kind of around town. He wrote a musical for the local high school to perform, and he was very much a musician, even in like this really, really small community. He was like the music guy. But he also kept journals, and they're just straight up comics. And I read that thing, and I was like, I don't have any control over my life. I'm just living out my genetic destiny, and no matter what I do, it's all preordained. I don't think I like that. But anyway, I wanted to show Damien's comics, and a way that Bruce helps Damien connect with the Waynes is to show him his grandfather's journals and show, your grandfather liked to draw too. He never showed anyone, but I have them, and now you're going to see them. And that was like a way for him to kind of connect with Gotham, because he wants Gotham to be his home. He doesn't want to raise a soldier this time. He wants to raise a son too. And he tries to help him connect with Gotham and with Sacred Heart by exposing him to his grandfather's old journals. And it works. It works too well. And then he kind of goes on this journey of self-discovery.
That's great. Love it. How much far in advance, do you have Batman and Robin kind of mapped out?
Actually, not as far as the other stuff. I'm going to be doing at least the rest of this arc that we're currently in. The Memento stuff just wrapped up, and now we're in another arc called The Quiet Man I'm very excited about. And The Quiet Man's a character I really like. We're also reintroducing a classic character that I'm very attached to. And I'm really excited to write soon. So I'm stoked for you to see those issues through the end of this issue, of this arc, and then we'll see.
All right. And then I got to ask, and then we'll start wrapping up. You've written Superman. You're working on Batman and Robin. Do you have a Diana story that you really need to tell? Because I feel like you've written 2/3 of the Trinity.
There you go.
I can't be the first person to say, when are you writing Wonder Woman? I cannot possibly be the first person to go, when are we going to see PKJ write Wonder Woman, just to wrap it up for the sake of completion?
I did write a short story of her, but I would love to write like a proper arc of Diana. That's where it was really fun. It was a tie-in with Lazarus Planet. She was like, she's training one of the other Amazons, like one of the new Amazons on the beach, like training her in a fight. And as part of Lazarus Planet, we had to show, manifesting in different ways across the globe. And we see these ships of shipwrecked like Greek soldiers from yesteryear walking out of the surf. And it's this really cool thing. But if I was going to write another Diana story, man, I'd actually have, if I got that shot, if I got the call to really do it, I would do a deep dive on her character and figure out a proper answer. I don't want to just give a pithy answer like, oh, I know what I do. But one thing that I would like to do that probably belongs in the context of a Wonder Woman story, I think it's bullshit that Medusa is a villain.
Ooh.
Like ever.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Okay.
Medusa, I mean, depending on the origin, I think DC has an origin for her that's not like the real one. But, the real story, right? Wasn't she was like raped by Poseidon, right?
Yeah, she's one of the three Gorgon sisters. You got it.
Yeah, she was like this beautiful, like she was serving she was like an attendant at a temple to Athena, and Poseidon raped her.
Yeah.
And then Athena punished her by making her a Gorgon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Perseus or Theseus? Perseus comes along, cuts her head off.
Yeah, looking at a shield because he can't look directly at her. But the other part of the detail with that is that the shield itself even has her face emblazoned because that's how powerful the stare is. So I apologize. I got a lot of Greek stuff on my mind because my daughter is reading the Odyssey.
Cool.
Actually, I take it back.
Cool.
She is reading it, but she started with the Iliad because I never read the Iliad. I read the Odyssey, but I never read the Iliad. And I told her that, and just to get one up on me, she's reading the Iliad and the Odyssey. So
no, that's good. That's
nice.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like forefront of my mind right now, all this Greek stuff.
Tell her she has to complete the whole thing. Tell her she has to read the Aeneid next.
Yes.
If she's going to be all hardcore.
Yeah.
You're going to do it. Do it.
But anyway, yeah, the idea that Medusa is a villain makes me mad.
Okay.
So I would love to tell that story again in a different kind of way, in which has some kind of a redemptive element to it. And I feel like Diana needs to be there. But as far as like Diana's actual arc, I don't know. I have to give it some thought. I don't want to. It deserves like some real respect. I mean, obviously, I'm going to play into the mythology elements. I always love Diana best when it leans into her roots. I really love the old clay origin, like where she was like made from clay, and like I just think that's so dope. Like I don't think that's canon anymore, but man, I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
I love that character.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully if DC is listening, you get your shot. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So is there anything else? Because we've obviously covered a lot and we're in the process of wrapping up. Is there anything else outside of everything, Infernal, Hulk, and the continuing Batman and Robin and now Book of L? Is there anything else that you're working on that you can even discuss?
I mean, there is, but nothing I can talk about yet, sadly. I've got some really exciting books coming out soon. I've got one coming out, and I think it's in January, so it'll probably be announced pretty soon. Just a mini series, but one I'm very proud of. There's another long form story that I've gotten the keys to another beloved character that I cannot wait to write, and that's already coming together.
Oh, okay. Big two or others or
Big
otherwise?
two.
Big two. Okay.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Not Diana, sadly, but it's something I love just as much. God, it's gonna be amazing.
Oh man.
So I'm doing putting in the homework to make sure that it goes a long time and stays beloved. Anyway, I better shut up. I'm going to spoil it. So I'm really looking forward to this next thing. But also Hulk War, Superman, like those books are both taking a lot of time for sure. And I do have a creator-owned book coming together too. That'll be out hopefully next year.
Okay. I was going to say, if you had any other indie / creator-owned stuff coming out in the works.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be cool, man. I'm excited for that too. I mean, I know this all sounds bullshit, but I everything I'm doing, man, I'm just really, I will never take for granted how lucky I am to get to do this stuff. The artists are amazing. I'm very proud of the stories. I want to keep making hay as long as I can.
And that PKJ section of my drawer will just continue to grow and grow. I mean, I literally have just a tab, just PKJ Comics, and it's just a section that is just your books, and it just grows and grows. And I'm on, League of Comic Geeks, and you can subscribe to certain creators.
Yeah.
And so anything that is yours, it just automatically just like boop. Oh, PKJ's writing a new book. So it's just going to get added right to the pull list. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You honor me.
Awesome.
I appreciate that very much. Well, I'll make sure we get back to Hellhunters and kill some more Nazis for you.
Love to hear it. So where can folks find you online as we wrap this up?
Well, I've got a website, phillipkennedyjohnson.com. I try to stay pretty current with my books on there, but also I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all the Twitter descendants, under most places at Phillip K. Johnson, 2 L's in Phillip. Facebook under my full name. So yeah, that's me. I'm around.
Awesome. Well, you can also find us on all of those socials at Capes on the Couch. Our website is capesonthecouch.com. You can subscribe to the Patreon. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to the first couple of times that we had Mr. Johnson on, because it is always a pleasure and is always fantastic and looking forward to more stuff. And, we'll have you on again next year. And, we'll be discussing, I'm sure, how Hulk wrapped up or the Incredible Hulk wrapped up, and now we can discuss Infernal Hulk, and we can talk more about Book of L and whenever the next volume of Hellhunters comes out.
Looking forward to it, brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.